Hello everybody, welcome to Manine's Nail Station. Well, I hope you're enjoying your acrylic nail training course so far. We are now on to Module 2. Also, I am offering one-on-one classes if anyone's interested, whether we do it via Zoom. So if you would like extra training, just let me know, DM me, and remember to hit that subscription button so that I can send you updates all the time. All right, so today again, I have prepared some PowerPoints again for you guys. So let's just move this and make it bigger. All right. Let me just see something. I just want to see. There we go. All right. So here we are, Module 2. And this is how to set up your acrylic and gel nail system. So your desk, how you're going to set it up. So just take a screenshot of the items that are required. Every now and again, I do drop a little, what do we call it, like a little nugget. So stay tuned to get those little nuggets because I'm sure there's a lot of things that you did not know. So hopefully you will get a couple of nuggets from this one. So here, obviously you're going to need some form of nail training hands so that you can practice on. You're going to need a dusting brush. These are quite nice because you can sterilize them. They use them for men's beards. I find it's quite a nice, strong sort of bristle, very nice to clean. So, use whatever brush you prefer, or you could use one of these nail brushes. Sometimes I like to work with it in my hand and then just brush the nail as I work. File, brush. Looks quite professional if you get into the habit of doing that. You are going to need files, 2 each. So you're going to need 2 of 100 by 100, 100 by 120, 100 by 180, 240 by 240. So if you can remember, the 240 is the lowest grit. The 100, and then there is an 80, but I wouldn't suggest that, is the coarser the grit. So that's how they generally go. You will need a sponge file. So a sponge file is something like this. They're wonderful to have. You will need a normal nail file, which is just your plain black one. You'll need a shiner, which shines up the nail. And here is a nugget for you. It's a Styptic powder or powder alum, which is something that you would use if you accidentally nick a client, or you cut in the cuticles and you cut her. Very, very important. It stops bleeding straight away. And be careful of people that are diabetic because they tend to bleed a lot more, and people that are on blood thinning meds. So always ask your client. Always make sure to ask your client if they do take any of those medications. Okay, I don't know why that is there. That shouldn't be there. Okay, you need a Sani liquid, so like a sanitizer, antibacterial liquid soap so that people can go and wash their hands. What I like to do is I use my e-file to remove the colored gel, and then I send my clients to go and wash their hands. You need acetone, soak off trace. So in other words, there are different kinds of, you can either use a little bowl sort of thing where you can put your fingers in and put the acetone in, or you can buy a little heater machine like this where you apply your acrylic inside the dish, and it heats up the acrylic, which helps to speed up and it's also got a timer here, which is great. I've got 2 of them, so I use those if I need to soak off. Very nice item to have. Always put some oil on the cuticles before putting in because you don't want to dry them out too much. So that's just another little nugget. And then, of course, you will need, if you're going to be using different methods of soaking off, you're going to be needing your foils. What did I do with mine? Here we go. So I keep a little container like this. And let me show you what is in there. So I have, these are little, they look like thimbles, little things that you can put on. So what I do is I keep my cut foils over here. Let me show you, so that you can see. Here's my cut foils. You know what, let me try and make this bigger. Hold on. We're still learning, guys. I just hope that you can bear with me. Okay. So here you can see. So this is my little container for soaking. So I've got cotton wool. I've got these. So what I would do is I would take a piece of foil and I use the shiny side up. Then I would obviously roughen the top gel. So I'm going to be repeating a lot of these things so that it stays in your head. And then I'm going to saturate a little piece of cotton wool onto the nail, and we're going to fold it and bend it over, and we're going to put one of these on so that they don't fall off. And the client's going to sit like that for about 20 odd minutes or so. So this is the other little method or little thing that I feel one needs on your nail station. All right, let's just carry on. Let me get your knee back. Okay, so let's see. So now, so here you're going to need a circle tray foils, lint-free wipes, cuticle pusher, nail wipes. I would use the lint-free nail wipes, large nail clipper, mender pump. Okay, does anyone know what a mender pump is? A mender pump, and there's a lot of different variations that different companies have. Love this one from Light Elegance. Really is a stunning little bottle. And then there is a mender pump like this, which is a biosculpture. So you get different kinds of mender pumps to use. So have a look at those. All right. Tip cutters, cuticle nippers. So let me show you now. A tip cutter is something that looks like this. So you can cut your tip with that. So you have got, let me just see what else I want to show you. This is a sterilizing unit. All right, can you see? And I put all my implements in there for it to sterilize in between clients. So you've got your cuticle nipper, you've got your big nail clipper, your cuticle pusher. These are nice little things to have. It's not a must, but they're very nice to have for pinching. If you need to pinch the nail while curing the see-through one, the UV light will go through there. So nice for gel. And then you do get other ones that you could use for acrylic. So you can see they're not see-through because remember the monomer and the polymer are air dry. So you could use that one as well for pinching. So one like this is very, very nice for acrylic, and the see-through one is for gel. Then I always say either a little cuticle scissors like this, and normal scissors as well for cutting fiber or silk. Let's see, yeah, so that is all the items that are in my sterilizer. I'm going to give you a couple of other little nuggets to have. A little lamp like this. So make notes as we're going along, or you can take photographs of the PowerPoints that I've got. So these little lights are actually excellent. They don't cure completely, so don't think that you can cure your nail completely. But let's say you are working in a hurry and your gel polish or color is very runny. You can sort of hold the lamp above, let it sort of cure a little bit, and then move on to the next finger without it running, so you can control that a little bit more. Also great for art. Okay, let's then continue. So I don't know if you want to take a screenshot of that, take a screenshot of that. Let's move on to our next slide. Obviously, you're going to need cuticle oil. You're going to need nail forms. You're going to need nail glue. Don't go and buy super glue and use super glue. It's not the same thing. You need a surgical glue for fingernails. A box of natural nail tips cut out. Nail polish top and base coat. So obviously you can either use your gel colors or normal, whatever you decide you're going to use, and a cuticle remover. All right. Then on your gel product requirements, you're going to need an LED or UV lamp. I would say an LED is probably better in today's time to get. You're going to need a brush on gel, clear and nude. You're going to need a top coat, a matte top coat, a prep dehydrator, a builder gel, and gel colors. So we're going quite in depth into all the items you will need to do all the different systems. All right, acrylic product requirements. You're going to need a dappen dish, a bonder or primer, monomer. You're going to need a Kolinsky brush, sable brush. You're going to need clear acrylic powder, pink acrylic powder, and white acrylic powder. All right. So that is all the items that you are going to need. All right. Then I'm going to go into another PowerPoint that I have prepared for you. And here we go. So let's just have a look at that one. So we're going to go into tipping. So this is part of module 2. So we've gone into all the items that we need, and then we're going to go into tipping. What I do want to do is I wanted to show you this. We sort of brushed on it lightly. So let me show you this. So let me put this on here. So you can download these practice sheets. Okay, on Pinterest, all over. This is on Instagram at GetNailed32 by Natalie Camona. All right, it's sort of got little instructions of how to get the correct ratio, and it then looks at the brush. You can see the handle, the belly, the tip, and the ferrule. Remember what I said, when you store your brush standing up, all the liquid will run down the ferrule. You don't want to do that. So what I would suggest is to practice. Remember, practice makes perfect. So you need to practice. What I've done is I've laminated this, and I used to do these for my students. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of monomer into my dappen dish. And I'm going to just take out the powder just so that we can show you. All right. So in actual fact, and I'm going to show you the zoning of how we apply acrylic, but just to get the ratio correct, let me see if you can see all of this in. There we go. Okay. So we always need a tissue to wipe our brushes on. Okay, so if we are going to pick up a bigger bead, so this is where you can practice. We just wipe the one side of it and we bounce, bounce, bounce. All right? We drop that bead in the center of that circle and let it do its own thing. All right? See how it's doing its own thing? And just work them. So now, so that would be your larger bead. Now we want a smaller bead. All right. So I wiped my brush twice because the more monomer that's in your tip, in the belly of the brush, creates a bigger bead. So the less there is, the smaller the bead. So now I'm going to bounce, bounce, bounce. All right. Today's a bit colder, so I'm going to drop that bead there. Look how it spreads. And now we're going to do even a smaller bead. So now always wipe your brush in between. So you need to just practice this. And what's nice about the cover, you can just wipe them off when you've had enough. So now when I dip my brush for this tiny bead, I'm not going to insert the entire brush. I'm going to insert just the tip. All right, wipe the one side. And I'm going to go bounce, bounce, bounce. And I'm going to drop the tiny bead there. Right, so that's a tiny bead. All right, can you see this was a bit too runny because it actually ran out of the parameter. So you can sort of play with that and just practice, practice, practice. That is the most important thing, is to just practice, practice, practice. Okay, then when we get to the zoning, I'm going to show you as well. So what I normally do is this zoning is a little bit different. So zone 1, bounce, 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 is where we are going to apply sort of your tip. All right. So I'm going to let it just work its magic, and we're going to just work it up the smile line. So that would be zone 1. Wait, let me just straighten that. And remember, with acrylic, you don't want to touch the skin, because obviously you're going to get hepatitis if you touch the skin too much. So that will be zone 1. Zone 2, we bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm going to be putting it in there, zone 2. So that's where the smile line and the free edge meet. And we're just going to lightly fan that over the free edge. So that is zone 2. Then we're going to look at zone 3. I'm going to bounce, bounce, bounce. Look at the bead. Can you see the consistency of the color? We know that it's saturated right through. We're going to drop the bead, wipe the brush, let it do its own thing, and just feather it down. If you feel you want to make a higher apex, you can go back, bounce, 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 and this would be zone 4, where we are now going to just make sure that the apex is in place. So print out one of these sheets, laminate it, and play. This is going to be your best way of getting the ratio correct. All right. If I know how to download this onto YouTube, I will try. So this, just as it says here, needs a lot of patience and dedication. Fill up all the things, try the different colors. You could even try a French in one of these. So just play with it, and I'm sure that you're going to get everything down to a fine art. All right, I'm just cleaning my brush, and let's move on then. I'll just take this out of the way. All right, let's continue. Okay, let's see. So we are now going to go into tipping, which is part of my module 2 that I have arranged, that I've done. Okay, so tipping defined. A nail tip is an artificial nail made primarily of ABS plastic. Nail tips are applied to the natural nail to add extra length, and are usually combined with another nail surface such as acrylic or UV gel. The tip materials are made to be resistant to solvents and conform easily to most nail shapes. They are easy to file and do not crack, crease, or shatter. So these are ABS plastic. All right, there's a big difference between the different kinds of plastic that you get, and I will just demonstrate that for you. So if we have a look, let's just look at a couple of different tips. Let's have a look here. So these are, I'm going to be showing you as well the soft gel tips, a different way. a nail hack that I have for you in one of the modules. I will be doing them. But I just wanted to show you in terms of quality of tips. And you see this nail tip here. If I bend it, it makes a white line. Do you see that? If I straighten it, the white line disappears. That means it's ABS plastic, which is very, very good. If you take, let me see if I've got another type of tip. I'm not sure if it's going to do the same thing or not, but let's just see. So I've got a full sort of, let's have a look at this plastic. So here's this. So this has got a fuller well. Can you see? And you've got a little lip there that hooks up to the nail. Also, when you apply your tip, you're not going to apply it on long nails because look at the free edges floating in the air, and that becomes that is your stress area, so it won't last. So that well is basically you've got to put it, sort of right up against the nail. So let's give this one a test and squeeze. Let's have a look. There's the line. And that doesn't, can you see it's cracked. So not great quality. So always check your quality of tips so that you can see whether they are going to last a lot longer or not. Okay, so let's have a look now. Okay, so you saw that one creased and shattered, so it's not ABS. All right. Tip application. Always begin any nail enhancement procedure by performing proper nail preparation. And we've gone through this numerous times. Remember, the goal of preparation is to prevent the nail enhancement lifting and bacterial infection. So we don't want any lifting to get any bacterial infections. Choose which nail tip you are going to use. Choose the correct size tip by ensuring the side walls fit from side to side and the C-curve of the natural nail. It's always better to size up a tip and to pre-tailor a tip than to choose a smaller size because it's just going to pinch and it's not going to last. All right. And then also not to spread the tip too much, but by flattening the tip to make it fit will definitely cause the tip to crack under pressure, and it will become, the application will become very uncomfortable. Pre-tailor tips if necessary. If there is an overhang along the side walls, use a 180 by 180 grit file to straighten the side walls so that the tip fits from side to side. All right, so I'm going to demonstrate for you. Let's make this shorter. All right, so let's have a look here. We've got our little finger. Let me just bring the camera closer. I've got a bit of acrylic on here, playing from the last video. So let's just make it a bit rough. Always good to have one of these fingers. And I think what we're going to do is we are going to cut it very, very, short, as though it was a normal nail. Let's have a look. And I'll show you how the nail cutter works. So we're going to just lift it up, we hook it in underneath, and we're going to snip. Okay. I'm going to round those corners because the nail tip is not going to stick. Because if you look at a tip, it's rounded inside. It's not square. And we're going to choose a different nail tip. Right. Let's just round the corners. So let's say you were doing your prep. You would be pushing back your cuticle. Whoopsie. Doesn't stay in very well. You'd be pushing back your cuticle. And obviously I'm just filing the acrylic that's on here. You'd never file so much on a natural nail. All right, I'm just, because there's already acrylic on here, I don't want to waste. Okay, so now let's just stick that in there. Okay, so we are going to apply a tip. So there are different methods of applying tips. First, we're going to do a sizing. Let me just see, is this in focus, guys? Let me just see. That's better. Okay. So I haven't buffed all the way down, but we just want to show you in terms of applying a tip. Okay, so you can apply tips with acrylic, but then you're going to have it thicker underneath and you don't want thickness to show through here. And you can apply with a builder gel if you're doing gels and you don't want to use a glue, or you can apply with a glue. So let's size this tip. Seems to be quite a big sort of tip. Let's have a look. You see now that's too big. Can you see how big that is? It overlaps on either side. You don't want that. Let's go a size smaller. It's still overlapping. You don't want that. That's too big. Let's go the next size down. So when you look at tips, in your tip box, the biggest size is generally a naught, and then it goes naught, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 being the smallest. The middle ones are generally a 5 or a 4 or a 3, depending on the size of your fingers. All right, so here I've gone now to a 3, and that seems to fit perfectly. When you are practicing to put tips, it's always a great idea to, instead of using glue and getting glue stuck everywhere, just so that you can get the feel, is to use a dot of oil, all right? And then rock it on the tip to make sure you don't, look there, you see that big bubble? You don't want a big bubble. Can you see that? Look at that big bubble. See the bubbles? I don't know if you can see it in the light. So you don't want big bubbles in the application, because the minute you have big bubbles, it's a flaw in the application and that is not going to last. So now I'm just going to give this tip a wipe to remove the oil. This you wouldn't do on a natural nail. All right, this is just for demonstration purposes. So if you need to practice and you don't want to land up with glue everywhere, utilize the oil. All right, so we are going to apply a bead on the end of the nail, and we are going to rock it. Can you see how it spreads all the way around? That's what you want. You want it to spread all the way around with no air pockets. That is important, because if you've got an air pocket, it's not going to hold, and it's taking a long time to dry today. Okay, let's just see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat a little bit. This is another nugget. I use a resin and an activator just to speed up the actual process of the tip. I'll show you that now. So that seems to really help, because if you've got time, wasting time in the salon, you don't have time to sit there waiting for the tip to dry. So what I use is, and we used to use it for fiberglass, is I use a resin and I use an activator which dries the resin, the two together. That seems to help with the application of a tip. So it goes on a lot quicker. All right, so here we've applied the tip. So you need to practice putting tips on, and then of course we would be cutting that tip to a size that you want. And then you are going to be shaping and blending that tip in. So when we blend, we always go straight, side wall, straight. Now this is difficult to hold this thingy as well. Do the side wall. So you straighten up your tip, And then we can just lightly blend that tip in. That's why I like the see-through tips, because the see-through tips, you don't really see the join as much as you do with, say, a natural color tip. Okay, so we want it to look as natural as possible. So we just blend, blend, blend. And if you wanted to speed up even more time, you could use your nail drill and you just blend in on that edge there and off you go. So that's how you blend it in. That saves a lot of time as well. All right, so now let's continue with our tip application. All right, so pre-tailored tips. Okay, so let's say for argument's sake, you've got a client and the tips don't fit her nails. Let me just show you. We're going to just use one of these. So let me quickly show you a pre-tailored tip. Okay, so a pre-tailored tip. Whoops. I think one could actually put a little bit of press stick in there for the tip to sort of stay. So let's say, for argument's sake, we needed to pre-tailor this tip. I don't have any other sizes, and this tip is just too big, slightly big. This one's actually just slightly big. All right. You would then tailor that tip, pre-tailor the tip by filing that straight down the side, so that it fits better. You can round the corners. And if you wanted to save time in the salon, you could file on top of that tip before applying it onto the client's fingers. So we can file that on top. So we're already thinning it out so that there's less work to do once it's on the finger. So let's just see. So there you can file that out. Now, if I wanted to create a smile line, I can take my file at a 45-degree angle and just bring it down the middle like this. This file is a bit not so sharp anymore. And you can shorten the well by doing that. It shortens the well. And then round off the sides. So that is how you can pre-tailor your tips. You would have to play with that to see how that goes. So play with that idea. And then let's have a look at our next slide. Okay, tip application. Use a brush or adhesive designed for nails only. As I said, don't go and use super glue or one of these other glues that are not designed for nails, because then you're asking for trouble. So don't do that. All right. Then place a small amount of adhesive in contact with the finger, and then you're going to rocket the nail on with the make sure that you've got glue from edge to edge, and make sure that it's airtight and that you've got no bubbles. Remember what I said, play with a bit of oil and make as though it's glue to see whether you are getting bubbles or not, so just so that you get the right hand movement of that application. Okay, so use a tip cutter to gently squeeze and remove tips to cut the tip. Do not cut the nail tip in a straight line, as this will create too much pressure and cause possible cracking. So this is a lot to do with, also if you've got like acrylic nails, never just go and cut it. If the client wants to take her nails shorter, always file them down, because you don't want it to crack. It is not recommended to use a toenail clipper to cut nail tips. All right, remember that. Accurate placement of the nail tip depends on the correct tip size and pre-tailoring technique and an overall assessment of the natural nail. The stop point of the tip should be placed against the natural nail edge, optimum strength. This technique also creates protective stress points and guards the nail against vulnerable stress fractures. So the stress area is where the free edge and the finger meet, and that's where one is most likely to break the nail. So what I want to show you here is a C curve. This is a C curve, and this is looking down the barrel. These are terminologies used in the nail industry, and this is looking down the barrel. So if you're looking down the finger, this is a natural C curve. We always want to try and create a natural C curve. Why? Because this gives a nail a lot more strength. So again, it's like the egg story, whereas if you take an egg and you try and swish it from one end to the other, it won't break, but if you turn it to the side, it most definitely will. And then I wanted to show you the apex placement. So this is something you can take a photograph of, and when you get to placing your acrylic, this will give you an idea of a guide where your apex is supposed to be and your C curve. So when we're referring to a C curve, you'll know exactly what I am referring to. All right, blending the tip. In enhancement designs, you learn that tip application and sufficient blending of the nail tip to the natural nail is crucial to the overall design. If you don't blend it in, you're going to have a big lip. And that big lip is just going to create problems whereby it becomes too bulky, or you thin it out too much and it becomes too weak. Okay, and when you are blending in tips, always bear in mind that you don't want to, blend too much of the natural nail. You don't want to buff too much of the natural nail. So always use a 180 by 180 grit to blend and refine the nail tip in zone 2. All right, proceed to zone 1 and bevel and taper to the thin edge. Zone 1 is the free edge, zone 2 is the stress area, and zone 3 is the cuticle area. All right, so let's just take that off. You back with me. All right, so let's have a look. Let's see if you can see. So we are going to, and I showed you sort of briefly how we would blend in the tip. You don't want to see a join at all where you blended in the tip. You want to make sure that your side walls are straight, like that. Okay, and I'm going to actually show you something as well. Oops. Wait, this thing has just come undone. So maybe I'm too hard on it. Okay, so now I'm going to just show you, and I want you to practice this. I'm going to show you on this finger. So we've prepped the nail. You're going to put a primer on the nail. So we are going to prime the nail. Make sure you don't touch the skin. We are then going to fan our brush into our monomer. I'm going to wipe it. Now I'm going to dip it into the monomer, brush the one side, bounce, 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 get a nice size bead. I'm going to apply that in zone 1. Okay, let it level, wipe your brush in between, and we're going to just move the sides up to the sides, move it up, like that. We're also going to be doing reverse French, so I'll be showing you that as well. Okay, that's zone 1. Now we are going to do zone 2, bounce, 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 and we can actually pick up a bigger bead, and I'm going to drop that bead there. All right, this you could do 4 zones if you like to work in smaller beads. And what's nice about this way of doing things, it's the old-fashioned method, but then it gets your apex in for you perfectly. All right, so that's zone 2. And now we're going to bounce, bounce, bounce. And I'm going to go for a bigger bead here. All right, you can see it's completely saturated. I'm going to drop that bead into zone 3. Wipe my brush. Then I'm using the tip of my brush. You don't want it thick in the cuticle area. You want to be able to just blend it so that there's not a line. Okay, you don't want a line in the cuticle area. You don't want a lip, a thick lip. Okay, let's just blend that in. And you can sort of maneuver it as you want. So you would use the tip of your brush just to blend that area in. I use the barrel of the brush just to flatten the acrylic and sort of play with it until it completely sets. All depends on the weather again. It all depends on a lot of factors, how fast or slow it will sort of set. All right. So I need you to practice with all your zones. Let's just do another zone. Let's do zone 4 here because it's a longer tip. So let's just do one more. Okay, I'm going to take it right up there. And I'm going to use the tip of my brush for the cuticle area. Oops. And we're just going to tap that down. Tap, tap, tap. So that's, say, the cuticle area there. Okay. Right, so if we look at it like that, you can see. So I've chosen a full cover acrylic so that you can see more. So you can see better with the color of the ratio of the acrylic. All right, and then I'm going to clean my brush. Remember, we clean our brushes in the monomer. I'm going to wipe, clean the brush in the monomer, wipe. All right, and then we are going to place it back in the lid to close our powder. And we are going to take our tissue and clean the dappen dish so all the old monomer gets absorbed into the towel and it is clean, and then you can throw that away in the dustbin. All right, so I hope that helped you. Practice, practice, practice. So print out your sheet, practice your ratio. Now you know what it's supposed to look like. Practice applying tips, as many as you can. Obviously, we're going to be doing full demonstrations on, the tips on real clients and how to blend them. But at this point in time, I just need you to practice, practice, practice. As I say, practice makes perfect. Well, I wish you lots of luck and good fun, and I hope to see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.